Hello, everybody. Welcome along to your afternoon rabble here on the Rangers Rabble podcast. I hope you're all doing well. I would say, how's your Thursday going? But it's literally only 12:30, so I would imagine it's either gone okay or terrible, and not much in between. How are we dealing then, folks, with the international break? It's killing me a wee bit, to be honest. I just seen people are talking about breakfast. I never have a breakfast, and I often wonder to myself, does it set you back not having a breakfast? I don't know why that thought just came into my head. I don't know why it came into my head. But look, we've got loads to discuss today. We had a really good chat on the members show last night about the board and stuff, about obviously Craig Ferguson leaving as well, and how that basically leaves us with, well, nobody. No one. It must be difficult for the manager. It must be difficult for Clement. It must be extremely difficult for the board members that are left. Because obviously, you know, Craig's role was director of football operations, which also entailed the parts of the recruitment board. He was also responsible for a team of. He was one of a team of key players across different areas of the club, who worked to identify, scout, and secure wide targets. So where does that leave us for January? I don't know. We'll discuss that and more. Don't know if anybody can see, but I've got my new Rangers Rabble. Hold on. My new Rangers Rabble jumper. There we go. Very nice, very nice. Although I maybe should have ordered a double XL for myself instead of just the XL. I think I was being a wee bit overzealous there with the old ordering of gear. Um, was a great rabble last night, Martin. Sadly missed it, but you raised some great points. Well, you know that's not true. It wasn't me that raised the great points. We absolutely know that that's not true. Thank you very much, Tess. Loving hoodie, thank you. Unreal looking hoodie, Jordy, thank you very much. And of course, you can get this. Hence why I'm wearing it. If you just go onto our YouTube channel and across the top, you got all the options for live, video, home. There's a store button there. You can go in and you can have a look at what we have got to offer. But a wee bit of housekeeping. Big Dave has upgraded his membership. Thank you very much, Big Dave, massive supporter of the channel, now CEO. And Stephen Robertson has actually gifted 2 memberships. So thank you very much, Stephen, for the support. Hello to everybody in the comments. I hope you're all doing well. I'll be bringing in Craig shortly. But of course, before that, we all like to get the question of the day. We sort that, and then we move on to the actual Rangers content. So, folks, your question of the day, and I hope this is a good one. I hope you enjoy this. What is the weirdest food combination that you enjoy? I'll tell you a story about mine. But what is the weirdest football food combination that you enjoy? When I first started driving buses, so 17, 18 years ago, in the canteen, I used to always go in and get myself a wee roll and sausage, and run about midday or whenever. And then I came across a chicken curry with cut up bits of square sausage in it. I mean, there was no nothing better for me. Um, a nice roasting hot chicken curry with cut up bits, square sausage. Nails came right in there. Toast and fried bread together. There we go. A combination I have never tried. I have never tried. I think Andrew lambs at it a wee bit. Kippers and custard. No. Brian, mayo and tomato sauce on a rolling sausage. That must be a Highland thing. That must be why they're always so much bigger than us because of the weird stuff. The Iron Blue fish and chops. No, it's not. It's not necessarily something that I've ever tried, and I certainly haven't tried garlic bread and chocolate spread. Is it Nutella chocolate spread RFC? But garlic bread. I don't know. Tuna and brown sauce again. I mean, I don't tuna's. I don't mind it. But yeah, and that's a terrible joke, Gallant. It's a terrible joke. I used to drive buses, but I got fed up of people talking behind my back. Um, do we have any more? Do we have any more? Butter chicken and Doritos, spud cheese, beans, and Doritos. What on earth? I had a feeling we would get some good answers on this. Toast and cheese with jam. I don't know how that works. Um, I don't know. Mm, I'm just looking here. Ham, prawn sauce, lettuce, and a soft white roll. I mean, are people ripping it here? And James, what's I mean, apart from the chips, what's wrong with that? Um, mm, Stephen, ex-missus sent me out for pickled onions and raspberry ice cream. She was pregnant at the time. Explains everything about my oldest laddie. Right, keep getting them in. I'm going to bring Craig in 2 minutes, and we're going to discuss some stuff that was said on the members show last night. But I do have a who am I before we start. Now, I've got two to choose from. One I think is just a wee bit too difficult, so I'm going to go with the first one. I started my career at Dundee United in 1973, where I made 62 appearances, scoring 36 goals. I then moved down south to Aston Villa in 1975, where I spent 4 years um, playing 113 games, scoring 54 goals. I then made my move in 1979 to Wolverhampton Wanderers, where I played 133 times, scoring 38 goals. I then moved to Everton in 1983, where I made 49 appearances, scoring 14 goals before making the move to Aston Villa, where I played 54 games, scoring 5 goals. Then I went on loan to Notts County. I then signed for West Bromwich Albion before in 1988 making my move to Rangers, but I only made 14, 1-4 appearances, scoring 5 goals. And I ended my career at Cheltenham Town with 20 appearances, scoring 7 goals. I made 20 appearances for Scotland, scoring 7 goals. And in my career, I played 513 games and I scored 185 goals. So there we go. And I can confirm it is not Philip Sebo. So there we go. So now I'm going to bring in Craig. Craig, how are you?
I am very well. It seems like that that Who Am I was a bit easier than maybe the other one would have been.
We don't give any clues away. Don't give any clues away, Craig. But yes, it was extremely easy. It was very, very easy, to be fair. Craig, how are you?
Yeah, tired, just about getting settled, moved in. But yeah, it's that's why I've not been on for a little while. But good to be back.
Is it though? After what we're about to talk about, is it good to be
Probably
back?
not.
That's going to be that is going to be the question. First of all, before we get into the Rangers stuff, I'm actually glad you're on because I can get to talk to you about international football. Because, as you're well aware, up here there's a kind of lethargy about international football. For yourself, though, being a big England fan, what does just for reference, what does international football actually mean to you?
When the tournaments come around, it's quite a big deal because England generally, I mean, obviously for years didn't do fantastic. Got sort of to a certain point. Last few years been a bit more successful. I'll be honest, I don't really sort of go too much into the friendlies and the Nation League games, but I think it's just a different bit of an animal down here. I think it's especially if England are doing well, then it sort of breeds that, and it's just everywhere down here.
Would it ever be the case in England where you would choose one or the other? Has that ever been something down there with the supporters? Like, for example, Rangers and Celtic fans going to a Scotland game won't go on. But would Arsenal and Tottenham fans going to an international game, would club football even come into it?
Yeah, I think that there were a number of years. I mean, you hear interviews with ex-players they say for years it was very much like that in the camp. It was the Man City players sat together, the Arsenal players sat together, the Man United players sat together, and that probably didn't help with the success. I think the last few years they've, especially when a lot more of the players have come through together in the younger years, they've got that sort of club mentality. But I don't think, to be honest, it does. To me, anyway, from my opinion, it doesn't matter who a player plays for when they then play for England. It is a lot different. It's a lot different down here. I mean, I'm sure there are some instances where a fan will not want a player to do well because they play for their rival's team, but generally it's all one team when they turn out for England.
In terms of Scotland, then, just quickly, Craig, the only Rangers player in the Scotland team is John Souttar. I don't expect him to start because I don't think Steve Clarke has started him yet. Is that a damning indictment on Rangers, or can we look at Clarke and go, well, what about Conor Barron? What about, well, that's it, really?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination of the two. I think we don't have a lot of players that are obviously Scottish. Obviously, we lost Ryan Jack, but also it probably is a bit of stubbornness on behalf of the manager, where he's picking players that he thinks he can trust and aren't performing, and then doesn't want to put other players in. I mean, we've seen it in the past where Rangers players play and they don't get the best reception from the fans. So for me, it's probably a combination of the two.
Can I just say another massive thank you, by the way, to Stephen Robertson again, who's gifted yet another. That's free on this show alone. Memberships. Thank you very, very much, Stephen. Before we carry on with the conversation, because I want to come to obviously Creag Robertson leaving the position that Rangers are in now, the pressure that's going to be on Clement. What is the state of the club? I want to get to all that, but just before we do, what is the weirdest food combination that you enjoy, Craig?
I was reading some of the comments when before you brought me in, and some of them seemed quite appetizing, and some of them I was sort of almost bringing up my sandwich that I've just eaten. So, some of them were not very appetizing for me. Weirdly, being a big fan of Doctor Who, there was a weird combination on Doctor Who years ago, which I did try and actually found it quite tasty, which was fish fingers and custard, and it was actually a lot more appetizing than I actually expected it to be. So it's probably the weirdest one I've ever enjoyed.
That's bogging. I don't like custard, so I know fish fingers and custard. That is absolutely bogging. Lemon juice on bacon. That actually doesn't sound too bad to me. To be fair, yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. So yeah, keep getting them in, folks. What is the weirdest food combination that you enjoy? And in case there's one person who hasn't already, see if you can guess the who am I, although it's pretty obvious, and you can blame Craig because it was Craig's job to come up with it. Do you want me to try the other one, Craig? Quickly.
Yeah, we try the other
Right,
one.
obviously, right, okay, so that who am I was Andy Gray. Everybody knew that was Andy Gray, right? Let me try the other one quickly and then we'll come to Rangers, I promise. Okay. So I started my career at Sunderland in 1980, where I made 102 appearances, scoring 21 goals. I then went to Watford, and before joining Rangers in 1986, I only spent a year at the club, playing 10 times and scoring 2 goals. The clubs that he then played for were Sheffield Wednesday, West Bromwich Albion, Port Vale on loan, Swansea City, Leyton Orient, Northampton Town, Rushden and Diamonds, Northwich, Victoria, I think that is. And he finished his career in 2000 to 2001 at Hartlepool United. So I played for Rangers in 1986 to 87. I only played 10 games, scoring 2 goals, and I started my career in 1980, where I spent 5 years at Sunderland, making 102 appearances and scoring 21 goals. So let's try that one. Let's see if that's slightly more difficult. But what I will say is, do you know what I have noticed about the people that follow us, that watch us, the members? Very intelligent, Craig.
Yeah, a lot more intelligent than me, I'll be honest.
So much more intelligent. Right, okay, so just finishing up quickly then on John Souttar. What's your thoughts about Big Souttar going away on international duty? Obviously, we can't we can't really say anything. If you want to play for your country, you play for your country. But in the past, Craig, correct me if I'm wrong, I think barring the last international, I think the last two he came back with injuries.
Yeah, like you say, you don't begrudge him wanting to play for his country. I mean, every footballer would want to play for their country. Weirdly, I think that the way that Scotland probably set up, it probably suits him better than playing for Rangers, because it tends to be a bit more sort of siege defending, whereas he obviously has a bit more time on the ball at Rangers. I've always gone off the impression, and I do firmly believe it, that he's a lot better on the right hand side. But I'd actually think he'd be a lot better and in better form if Rangers played with three centre backs, because obviously that's where he sort of had his best form, playing for Hearts on the right side of a three, and obviously that's not necessarily going to happen with Rangers. But I think he's definitely a confidence player. I think when when things are going well for him, he's fine. When things sort of go sort of downhill a little bit, he tends to struggle and tends to have a bit of a wobble.
Yeah, yeah. And London's right. I didn't know this, but we've got another international break before the end of the year. That's three international breaks, Craig, since the season started. That's too much.
Yeah, that's not. I suppose I think for me, if you just had the one sort of now, it wouldn't be so bad. But having one in sort of early September, one November, 1 October, and then one in November, then the difference being obviously we won't have the winter break with the change to the European Games.
No, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, the winter break was a joke anyway, because as soon as you came back for it, you couldn't play games, and it was crazy. Football's mental. Football's absolutely mental. Right. So, what is the weirdest food combinations that you all enjoy? Please do get them in. We're now going to like, share, and subscribe as well. I should say that. I really should say that. Get your likes in. I'm trying my best not to try and hammer home the whole like situation, because I know that it frustrates people. But I'm going to say it anyway. We're only at 40 likes, folks. Let's get to 50, and then let's get to 100 before the end of the show. That's the rules. That's how we play the game. So go do it. Thank you very much. Right, okay, Craig, more board upheaval, more people leaving positions of power. Creag Robertson, the latest to announce he'll be leaving. I'm not sure if it's going to be in December or whatever. He's clearly found a new job, much like everybody else at Rangers Football Club. And I should just read out that Robertson was also part of the much discussed Rangers recruitment board, a team of key players across different areas of the club who work together to identify, scout, and secure would-be targets. A number of key players across that. Craig, is there any left?
It's starting to seem like a bit of a situation where it's like, can the last person out the door please turn the light off? There doesn't seem to be many. There seem to be many people left. I think we've probably got more positions need filling in the football and the board side than we've actually got in the door. I did like the comments last night that it probably will come down to a point where either one of us will be put in place, or Broxy will get the job. I think he might be the only person that's left. It is a big thing on the manager. The manager can't really be sort of planning too far ahead when he doesn't really know, because ultimately he's got to then have a relationship with the people coming in, and if they're not in place, then he's kind of working with.
Well, he's backed into a corner, really.
He's working with two hands behind his back, not just one at the minute.
Stephen Robertson again. He's on forum this morning. Thank you very, very much. Hit that like button, folks, with a super chat in for Stephen. Thank you very much, my friend. Hit that like button, folks. You know what makes sense. This proves how incompetent the Parks are. Seems they do nothing, as hinted by John Bennett. Not really sure if that's what John Bennett hinted, Craig, but it is starting to become a joke, and it's starting to make a mockery of the football club, in my opinion. The fact that we have no head of academy, no director of football, no CEO, no director of football operations, a stand-in chairman. Like there's nobody, and we're supposed to be, this club looking to the future and bringing in youth, and then going and scouting here and scouting there, and it just makes a mockery of the whole football club, the current situation.
It does. It's just sort of incompetence all round. I mean, the CEO left at the end of May. It's not like he left last week. He left 4 months ago, and we've been told over and over again that we're really close to appointing a CEO. We're really close to appointing a CEO, and time just goes on. I'd like to think will we get to Christmas and have anyone in place, but it's just an absolute. You would like to say organising a piss up in a brewery, but I don't think they'd even get that right.
Yeah, and by the way, I said will we do the other one because it might be harder. Um, well, it was Colin West, folks, was the other. Who am I? Neil got it. Aldo got it. Paul got it. Gallant got it. Another Sibo in there. One of my favourite answers was Kanye West. I like that. Paul Marshall got it. Everybody got it. It was too easy. Apologies. I'm going to need to find a really difficult who am I? Like maybe somebody that played for Rangers in like 1876 or something. Um, because people are just too good. Um, and yeah, at this point for Geordie, and I've heard this rumoured quite a lot over the last couple of days, Craig. I think there's going to be a takeover soon with all these people leaving. It seems too suspicious to me. I've got no idea why all these people are leaving. Bisgrove obviously got a much better offer for Saudi Arabia, Craig. Um, Zeb Jacobs, I think, got a much better offer in terms of the job that he was doing. I don't know if it is necessarily a takeover, but if you were reading into it too much, you could see that.
Yeah, like the guy said, you do get this situation where a lot of people leave before change is coming in. I don't necessarily buy into that. I just think it's incompetence across the board, and people are just looking at new jobs or just moving on and looking for something in the future. Yeah, Bisgrove got a better paid job, which you can't really begrudge him that. I think if you were to be offered a similar role for that sort of money, you would take it. But yeah, there seems to be a lot of suspicious comings and goings at the moment, or sort of goings. not much on the coming side. But yeah, something's certainly not right.
Again, I'll bring it back to the question about the manager. Does all of this, I mean, upheaval, chaos, staff leaving left, right, and centre, how much more difficult, Craig, does that make the manager's job? I mean, obviously, his job is to supposed to be looking after the player side of things. We're going through a transition. I think I'll change that question up. The fact that we're going through a transition and the manager has stated that he's trying to kind of revolutionise the club um, in terms of the players that he brings in terms of the scouting that we're doing. It's not a good look when you don't have any staff above the manager when you're going through what you would consider for lack of a better term, a rehabilitation of the club.
No, and it can't be putting the manager in a good position. Because, like I said, the manager can't really. You'd think, well,
Transition.
yeah, by now, obviously before now, but by now you'd be looking at your January targets. He can't do that if he's having to concentrate on what's going on the pitch, because he is. You could sort of, if we were steamrolling teams every week and the team were in good form and confident, you could sort of say the manager could sort of keep split his focus. He can't. He's got to focus on what's going on the pitch, because that's not been good enough. So he then can't. He should be expecting the likes of Coppen and Robertson to be doing all this stuff behind the scenes for him, and having those conversations. If those people aren't there, then he can't do that. I'm hoping that Niels Coppen does stick around, because I think if he was to be the next one at any point, I think we'd basically be saying who's left.
Yeah, it's just not a good look. It's just not a good look for the football club at all, Craig. The way that it's being run, and people transition seems to be the word of the day, and Gallant's saying transition is being kind. It's a downsizing, which again, it's hard to argue with people who are being um, overly negative. Probably much like myself, because I just don't see where the positivity is coming from. We had Malmo, but after Malmo, it's kind of all went down south. And Ali Quinn's saying, Craig, the poor manager, Martin, he's getting away with murder. Rangers are absolutely poor under the Tinker man. Maybe the board see what I see and want him gone ASAP. Well, if the board really wanted them gone ASAP, Craig, then there would probably be more members of the board or more members in higher positions, i.e., a CEO, a director of football at the football club.
Yeah,
Because
and it would.
right now, Craig, technically, is Clement the director of football, the chief scout, and the CEO?
Unless you ask John Sterling to that job, because obviously he seems to have quite a lot of jobs at the club. I think I don't agree with that, because I think if they wanted him gone, they wouldn't have given him a new contract in the summer. They would have kept him on the same wages, the same terms and conditions, and it would have been a lot cheaper for them to get rid of him if they did want that. I think they do back him. I just think there's not a lot of cohesion and clear plan across the board, across the whole club, really. Sort of, I get the impression that it's one of those where the left hand's doing one thing, the right hand's doing another thing, and the two don't meet. Yeah, it's just and unfortunately this isn't just this summer. This has been ongoing for a very long time. I mean, since 2021, we haven't exactly been doing things correctly, and then suddenly this season you could say, oh, it's an anomaly. And when we do seem to get it right, that seems to be the anomaly.
That's quite a sad state of affairs to be in. David's comment is, our club is a joke. I'm sick to death of off-field drama. We should just be entertained by football. He's sick of it. I think, Craig, personally, and I'll come on to why after you answer, I think we're all in that boat, mate, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, last week, obviously I just moved into the new house. I had the Hibs game on in the background. I was busy putting something together and barely kept an eye on the game. Just kept looking up every 10, 15 minutes just to see what was going on. I think it's just a bit of apathy at the moment across the board. Usually your whole weekend revolves around what's happening with Rangers and what time the game's on. But at the minute it's just like, oh, I'll keep an eye on the score later. I'll pick up later on it, rather than being really focused, which again is a very sad state of affairs.
You couldn't let me have a puff in my vape, could you? You had
I
to
couldn't
stop.
see what you were doing.
You just couldn't let me have a puff in my vape. Absolutely shocking. I mean, but you would think for men who are respected businessmen and have done really well for themselves over the years, they would know how to run something properly. It just amazes me that the way that the club is being run. Stephen Robertson again for another super chat. Thank you very much. 50 likes. Let's get it to 100, folks. Come on. There is 213 people watching on YouTube alone, and we've only got 58 likes. Come on, you know the script. That's no right. Come on, let's get it to 100. Let's share the podcast. If you want to help out the podcast as well, more, you can join as a member on either the YouTube memberships or Patreon. The link for both are in the description. They offer exactly the same thing. They're just different apps, different ways to go about it. We had a great show last night. Just me, Ian, Thompson, and Wolf. It was really enjoyable. So yeah, get on that. If you were to try, Craig, and explain to people right now, before we move on, the current state of Rangers Football Club, how would you describe it?
Apart from the word shit show, I think that's probably the best way to describe it at the moment. It's just dysfunctional. Like I say, there's doesn't seem to be a clear plan. If things were going wrong on the pitch, but behind the scenes it was all ticking along, you could sort of point it down to one particular area, but it just seems to be across the board and across the whole club. Weirdly, you probably say the women's team is probably the only one that's actually functioning, and weirdly enough being successful. It's funny how those two things are funny how those two things go hand in hand. When the club's run or the sort of department is run correctly, the team's successful. It's a very sad state of. I think that's probably the best way of describing it. Very sad state of affairs for a club that should be doing things right and does profess to be the club of standards. They've all gone downhill.
Yeah. I should also say, by the way, we're also live on Twitch. If you want to catch us over on there, if you're watching this on Twitter or YouTube and you like a bit of the old Twitch, you can catch us on there as well. All our live shows are live over there. So make sure that you catch up on that. A good point, actually, a good question, I should say, by Global Scoop. Here's a question of the day or a topic for you. Do you think Clement is building a European team in style and trying to adapt it to Scottish football? Because if he is, that won't last. There's two interesting points in there. Um, First of all, Craig, do you think he's trying to build a European team? And if he is, we have seen that before with a certain manager from La France, and it didn't work out too well.
No, I don't think he's. I don't agree that he's building a team for Europe. I think he's trying to build a team that's successful. We've seen it in the past where, for a couple of years, Steven Gerrard's team were very successful in Europe, and you could probably say that we were better suited to Europe, and we didn't work in this in the league on the whole. Obviously, we were relatively successful against a lot of the teams, but couldn't bridge that gap with Celtic. That then switched obviously for 1 year for a number of reasons. Coincidentally, the year that we didn't do very well in Europe. But I don't think he's building a team for European football. I think maybe the players potentially are better suited in some games to European football where they get a bit more time on the ball. But no, I think he's trying to build a successful team on the whole, which is what we do see in sort of glimpses, Malmo, Ross County. But it's just going to take time.
See, I don't know. Is there a difference? Can you build one team for Europe and one team for the SPFL? I get that the playing style is different, but can you not build a team, Craig, that can adapt to both?
Yeah, you should be able to. I think there'll be some tweaks with sort of formations and personnel, but you should be able to have a team that can do well, or relatively well in both scenarios. It may be that you play different formation, like I say, in Europe, or you sort of play more counter-attacking football in Europe and more on the front foot football in the league. But again, that takes time. That's not something that you can switch overnight. I mean, look at the great teams over the years. A lot of them didn't play completely different football one way or the other. They just slightly adapted.
They did. They did. How's the house moves and stuff going by the way?
Yeah, stressful. 3.5 weeks with no hot water, but that's all sorted now. So not ideal when you got a little baby to be sorting for all that.
No, it's not an ideal when you've got a wee baby to be supporting Rangers right now either, because that just adds to the stress levels. That just absolutely adds to the stress levels. I got asked an interesting question from one of the members. He posted it, and he said over the next 2 seasons, so this season and the end of next season, what do you think the Rangers fans would accept as success? And the answer that I gave for this season and next season, the answer that I gave was one league title and 3 cups. I think right now, I think we would probably accept that. But
I,
for you, if you can take off your blue tinted specs, Craig, if you can take off, all the years and years that you followed Rangers and what we expect as a fan base, where we are right now, the position that we're in right now, with the stuff that's going on in the background with the board, with the way that the team's playing in the park, at the end of next season, what would you accept as success?
I'd bite your hand off for one league title and 3 cups right now. I think we got asked this at the start of the season, and someone asked around Clement whether what would be progress for him, and my answer then was probably the same answer now. It depends whether, if he doesn't win the league, there's a big difference between being 10, 12 points behind Celtic and being 1 point behind Celtic. If we finish the season 1 or 2 points behind Celtic, yes, we'd be disappointed. But I would see that as progress on then building to potentially win the league next season. I think at the moment it is just very much, I don't think we can look that far ahead. I think we just have to be looking at the next 3 or 4 games and just winning those.
Are you confident about the upcoming games? I mean, it was mentioned last night as well about the form that Aberdeen are in. We have to play Aberdeen shortly. And the question was, when do we start taking Aberdeen seriously? Which, if you think back to quite a number of years ago, George Burley came into Hearts. I think Hearts won something like the first 9 games or something like that. And was it George Burley? I think it was him. Um, but so when do we start taking Aberdeen seriously?
I think to be brutally honest, I think we have to take them seriously now. They're winning games of football. The new managers come in, and we get this. We've had this discussion in the past around takes time to sort of build a new philosophy. This manager seems to have come in and done it pretty quickly. That to me, I'm just looking at the fixtures upcoming. That to me is the one game that I'm really worried about over the next couple of weeks, because it tends to be the game when Aberdeen turn up when they're in the previous managers. So when they're playing poor, they always turn up against Rangers. What are they going to do when they're playing well? Obviously, they're still going to turn up against Rangers. That for me is the worry. I think the longer they carry on winning, it breeds confidence for them. And then even when they do sort of take a slight dip, they'll have that confidence inbuilt. We don't seem to be able to build that confidence and momentum. We seem to have a couple of good games, and then one when we drop again. So looking at the games, that is the one that really worries me, just because of past history with Aberdeen.
Do you think I think did they play? Is it Celtic away? They play the first game after the international break. I think it is. Do you think after that, if they get a positive result, then we start taking them properly seriously with the form that we're in?
I think that will be a big test for them. I think if they can go to Celtic and get a result, then that'll give them that confidence. In the past, we've seen them relatively play well and then go and get a tanking at Celtic, and we just all go, yeah, that's par for the course. That's they've basically reverted to type. I think after that game, I think that will be a big big step for them. And obviously then they've got them, they'll have them in the cup as well.
Yeah. And look, there's questions about if Aberdeen beat us, will Clement go out? I don't like those sort of questions. To be fair, right now with the position that we're in and how we're playing, and because you just swap the question and go, right, well, if we destroy Aberdeen, is Clement the best manager in the world? So it's somewhere in between. It's absolutely somewhere in between. Right, just finishing up then with a couple of your weird food combinations. Cheese and banana with a crispy roll. Craig,
Yeah, I've got a slight intolerance to banana, so that wouldn't do me.
why?
Just because I can't eat banana.
That's just bananas are lovely. And
They are lovely, and it really annoys me that I can't eat them.
do you know what's weird? There's like 80 calories or something apparently in a banana.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're finishing up. Well, too much potassium. Right, we're getting far too scientific now, folks. It's the afternoon rabble. Come on. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there with too much potassium. I think that's the pineapple. Pineapple, no. Do you like pineapple on a pizza?
Yes.
Right.
And
Okay. Thank you for watching, folks. You actually like pineapple on a pizza?
I went to Italy on holiday, and I asked for it and I didn't get abused. And they came out with a pineapple pizza. Rather than it being the chunks, they had the full ring of pineapple. So if the Italians are happy with it, then I'm happy with it. Yes, I do have pineapple on pizza.
Pineapple.
I've stumbled across the best pizza from Domino's, which is barbecue base, ham, pineapple, mushroom, and tandoori chicken.
Mushrooms. Oh,
And it is beautiful.
no, it's wrong. I like Michael's comment. More the pineapples. More the pineapples. Listen, strawberries, balsamic vinegar, and black pepper.
No.
I don't know what's going on, but I think that'll do us. Although I would like to see Dave King come back in and bring back Stevie G. Maybe that's something that we can discuss tomorrow.
Yeah,
quite possibly. Listen, thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Thank you for making these afternoon, I should say, Rabbles enjoyable. There's not a lot in terms of content, although Rangers tend to throw you out little things here and there. And I will try my best to do them next week. There might not be a lot in terms of Rangers content, so I will try my best to put out what I can. But thank you for the support. Thank you, Craig, for coming on. Thank you, everybody in the comments. Thank you for the super chats. Stephen with the gifted memberships as well. Thank you very much. We are fan run We are run by our members. It's the members that keep us going. It's the super chats. It's the people liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. So keep doing it. If you want to join as a member, you can. Links are below in the description. Just thank you so much for the support. We will be back tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 for another afternoon rabble. I'm going to see if I can get a few things recorded for members over the next couple of days. We have the random rabble on Saturday, and then we have a quiz on Sunday. It's going to be the big fat Scottish football quiz live on YouTube on Sunday night. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll speak very, very soon.